I'll admit to having very little experience with the AK-47 pattern rifle. I've been to a couple of foreign weapons familiarization courses. I know how to run one of these things, but a recent check of my inventory revealed that I had 0 AK-47 rifles in the OG danger inventory. 0, zilch, none, not a single one. Well, it was time to fix that problem, and fix it fast. Not knowing much about what made AK-47 rifles different, I went down to my local retailer and picked out what just appeared to be the best built rifle in the rack. This was a Zastava M70. I didn't know much about the Zastavas. I was familiar with their name. They sold some great clone pistols back in the early 90s.
We still appear to be running a low and left.
However, this had to be a completely different Zastava company since the country of Yugoslavia was no longer a thing, as the kids say.
That seems to be much closer to 0 now.
I went home as the proud owner of my first AK-47 rifle and began to do some investigation. Like all guys, we do our investigation after our purchase. Sometimes we regret it, but in this case, I was very happy with my purchase. I soon found that the Zastava M70 was one of the best copies of the AK-47 rifle available on the market. Better quality, better craftsmanship, better materials, and a couple of design features that improved upon the venerable AK-47 rifle. And it's coming in at a price that just about all of us can afford. I set out with a pretty decent collection of Igman 123 grain 7.62x39 ammo. I picked some of this up at my local store, and I've been pretty impressed with the quality of this ammo. Now, when I say I set out to test this rifle, I set out to test this rifle. I ended up driving to a popular shooting spot only to find that the road to this shooting spot, about 4 or 5 miles long, was completely snowed in. There was only some snowmobile tracks. Nobody's ever accused the OG of having good judgment. So thinking swiftly, I put my truck into 4 low and managed to claw my way back through deep snow drifts to this remote shooting location. My reward was a completely empty shooting site. No shooters, no snowmobilers, no backpackers. The perfect place to test out this new rifle in a 360-degree environment. One of the things I wanted to test out for myself was whether or not this Zastava M70 or any AK-47 pattern rifle would actually replace an AR-15 as my do-it-all, into-the-world, shit-hit-the-fan rifle. Let me know down here in the comment section what your into-the-world rifle is. The one rifle that you would have to grab if things were really going to hell and it was time to defend your property, your truck, your family, or even your city. So before we get into the shooting portion of this video, let me go over some of the features that I think make this Zastava ZPAP M70 one of the best buys on the market. And I'm not alone in thinking this. I've seen some reviews from some pretty prominent AK-47 rifle operators, and they all agree this is one of the best made AK-47s out there on the market, and you're going to be surprised at the price. I picked up this Zastava M70 for right in the neighborhood of $1,000, and that may seem a little steep, but take a look around. You won't find a $300 or $400 AK-47 anymore. Unfortunately, I know myself. I've had to live with myself most of my life. I know that I'm going to end up putting an optic on this rifle, so at the time I made my purchase, I went ahead and dropped an additional $100 approximately to buy a Zastava brand sight rail. This sight rail mounts on the left side of the receiver, as you can see here. Whenever you're going to buy a sight rail for a Zastava rifle, make sure that you get a Yugoslavian pattern sight rail. There are many out there, and a lot of them won't fit Yugoslavian pattern rifles. This one was branded by the Zastava company, and of course I was able to fit it right there in the shop to make sure it worked. It fit nice and snug and provided a rail for me to mount that optic. Now, before I had an optic mounted on here, I was able to use the iron sights over the top of the rail, as you can see here. In fact, the very first round I ever shot out of this rifle, round number 1 ever fired from this rifle, was at a challenge steel target, a reduced size steel target that is approximately an IPSC A-zone size, at 100 yards. The first round out of this rifle with iron sights, out of the box, I was able to hit that target first time.
First round out of the gun, iron sights. Never been shot before, never been sighted in. I like it.
To say I was impressed with the out-of-the-box accuracy on this rifle would be an understatement.
Not sure where I'm going now. There we go. Hit number 2. Three. 4. Boy, the recoil impulse is nice. Real nice on this gun.
Now, if you've been with the show for any period of time, you know that I am a kind and generous lover.
Oh my God.
So of course I had to hand off this rifle to Jeff from Taufledermaus so that he could finish off the rest of this magazine. Jeff was also impressed by how accurate and soft shooting this rifle was.
I like that. This thing is fun.
So the M70 comes out of the box from the factory with the typical slant muzzle brake that you're all very familiar with. Now, of course, being a guy, I had to remove the slant muzzle brake. I briefly experimented with a Bulgarian-style cylinder brake, and I ended up, from the recommendation of a good buddy, putting on one of these Strike Industries J-Comp muzzle brakes. I really like this thing. The rifle does not have a whole lot of recoil anyway for a 30 caliber rifle, but this J-Comp from Strike Industries really tames this thing and makes it even more enjoyable to shoot. The M70 comes with a cold, hammer-forged chrome line barrel. It has a longer gas tube and longer fore-end because it is a Yugo-style rifle, longer than the traditional AKM pattern rifles. Mine came out of the box with a rubberized Hogue fore-end. The front and rear sights are traditional in style. The front sight is windage and elevation adjustable, and the rear sight is elevation adjustable out to 1,000 meters. It should be noted here that the rear sight is left in the white with your natural metal color and just the numbers darkened in. That's kind of a cool, classy look. The M70 includes a cleaning rod underneath the barrel. I think all AK-47s need that cleaning rod just to look normal. That's really about the only purpose for that cleaning rod. That and to plug the hole where the cleaning rod goes. Outside of a couple of sandy countries, I've never seen anyone use the onboard cleaning rod. We have far better cleaning tools available to us. Zastava never used to chrome line their 7.62 barrels, only their 5.56 barrels, so this is one of the newer version of the barrels coming into the country. So let's talk just for a minute about the hodgepodge of furniture that came on this version of the Zastava ZPAP M70. The buttstock is made by Archangel and is an adjustable buttstock. I find that actually kind of cool, and I really don't have any plans on changing it. I'm not really a big fan of folding buttstocks on my rifles, and this one seems to do the job. It's actually similar to a Magpul style stock in that it has a 7-position click adjustable cheek riser. That helps you get a good sight picture with both your iron sights and with an optic on board. And it has 4 length of pull options which allow a comfortable fit for pretty much any size user. It's got 4 ambidextrous push button QD sling points, so you've got a place to put your sling pretty much anywhere on this stock, and it's got a nice heavy duty squishy rubber recoil pad. But this thing has more brand name slapped on it than NASCAR. Moving back to the pistol grip, we have a traditional Tango Down style grip with a rubber plug in the bottom to store a good dose of Novichok. I have no problem with Tango Down grips. I've actually had them on several of my AR-15 rifles over the years, and I think they fit my hand just fine. And as we previously mentioned, the Yugo length fore-end is a Hogue overmolded rubber fore-end that does provide a nice firm grip up front. However, it doesn't leave a lot of room for adding accessories like lights or lasers. So the fore-end will probably be switched out eventually with something from Midwest Industries or TDI, one of those companies. Now, I'm no expert on AK-47s. We've established that. I told you everything I know about AK-47 rifles when I said hello. But the experts will notice that this has a bulged front trunnion. And the receiver is actually 1.5 millimeters thick as opposed to the traditional 1 millimeter thick steel from typical AKM pattern rifles. All of the second generation Zastava imports from 2019 and 2020 forward have all come with a bulged trunnion. And although that makes for a thicker receiver and it is heavier, it is more rigid and gives you more of a quality feeling rifle. The rear pin on this receiver has to be pushed to remove the cover, and that's different than most AK pattern rifles that you might be familiar with. But here's something that looks a little different. The safety has a bolt hold-open notch cut into it. The safety is very stiff. It's actually kind of a bear to get that thing lifted into place. It is not a one-finger job, at least just yet, until it breaks in. I might actually have to pull out and up on the safety and sort of bend it away from the receiver a little bit. But as you pull back the bolt, you can actually hold it in the rearward position by using this notch in the safety lever. It's kind of a cool little feature. Probably not all that useful other than for cleaning and showing that your weapon is clear as it's laying around on the table. And of course, with this feature in place, you can swipe the safety off and your bolt is going to fly home, therefore chambering a live round if you have a magazine in the rifle. Now, speaking of magazines, mine came with one Magpul magazine, and I bought a few more while I was in the shop. I've seen other versions of this Zastava M70 come with one steel magazine or even a couple of Magpul magazines. Now, although the Magpul magazines won't work, with the appropriate steel magazine in place, the bolt will lock open on the last round. I didn't have that luxury with me out there on the day I was testing this rifle, and therefore I found myself dropping the hammer on an empty chamber more than once, kind of a frustrating reminder that I was out of ammo and the bolt was not locked open. I've read some complaints online about the trigger. I really didn't notice any problem with the trigger, and again, I have very little experience with the AK-47 pattern rifle, but I found this to be a serviceable trigger. It was not gritty, it was not heavy, it was sort of a two-stage trigger, and it worked for what is essentially a battle rifle. Now, for quite a long time, the AK-47 has been sort of infamous about its accuracy. It's nothing compared to an AR-15, at least in traditional myths. Although I don't have the footage, I was able to pull some decent 2 and 3 inch groups at 50 yards, and I found that to be battlefield accurate. I went out to my frozen tundra shooting site that day with the intention of installing an LPVO for some accuracy testing. I got out there and found out that I didn't have the right tool to remove this EOTech, so the accuracy testing was off. But since this EOTech is going to live on this rifle, I kind of like the clunky, boxy look of the EOTech on the clunky, boxy AK-47. I figured we'll just dial this EOTech in and see what kind of groups we can get at 50 yards. So while I'm out here filming today, I'm carrying with me, I have strapped onto my person because I'm actually out in the woods quite a ways with these snowshoes. I'm carrying with me this little hunter's version of the Readiness is all tactical medical kit. There's a little IFAK that can pretty much travel along with you. Just snaps right on with a heavy-duty D-ring. Comes with a very easy to remove tourniquet on the outside, and of course a glass breaker because it's designed for vehicle use too. This one's going to live in my side-by-side, but I figure I'm out here, way out here today, completely, I don't know, about 12 miles away from the nearest human. It took me 4-wheel drive to get out here because of this really deep snow, and I am my only first responder here. Nobody's coming. It's up to me if anything happens out here. So I've got my Readiness is all. I've actually got their larger car kit that's permanently mounted to my truck, and their hunter kit that they sent me here to test out. But I want to thank the boys up at Readiness is all Tactical in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho for sending this out. They really know their stuff, and they put together a really badass little kit. So use the link in the description below this video and get yourself one of these nice little comprehensive kits with everything inside. So how about some pros and cons, Uncle OG? Well, since the cons have all been conscripted into the Russian army to fight in Ukraine, let's start with the pros. This is a very reliable rifle. The value of this rifle for the money, approximately $1,000, is one of the best quality mid-tier rifles that you can get on the market. It doesn't cost as much as some of the high-end custom guns. You can go out there and spend $2,000 or $3,000 on an AK-47, but I really don't think you're going to get a whole lot better performance than I was able to pull out of this rifle.
Offhand, 100 yards. Hit.
It's a very easy recoiling rifle. It's shooting a bigger, heavier 30 caliber round, and some people really like that extra oomph. One of the negatives that you used to hear a lot about with Yugo pattern rifles is that none of the aftermarket accessories made by all these different companies would fit these rifles. Well, as this NASCAR rifle shows right here, there are quite a few different brand makers that are making things now for the Zastava or Yugo pattern rifles. Pretty much everywhere you look, whether it's stocks, pistol grips, rails, they're going to make a Yugoslavian-sized piece to fit, and so you don't have to really worry about parts compatibility with your Zastava M70. Oh look, there are some cons with this rifle. One of the tiny little things I found was that the bolt hold open cutout on the safety lever does leave a gap for debris to find its way into the action of your rifle. Now with me it was just snow, that was easily cleared, but there is possibility of dirt, mud, and sand finding its way into your rifle because of this convenient little gap they left for you. Another drawback would be the weight of the rifle overall. Now I didn't measure it, but it's probably about twice the weight of my primary AR-15. Add to that the fact that 7.62x39 ammo is also going to be much heavier than 5.56 ammo. At the end of this shooting test, I whipped out my Daniel Defense M4, and I was actually shocked at how much lighter and more maneuverable this rifle was for me after having lugged this heavy AK-47 around all afternoon in the snow. So my final conclusion? I really like this rifle. I think everyone, and I mean everyone, should own an AK-47 pattern rifle of some sort. You don't need to spend $1,000 if you want to go out and get yourself a Polish or Romanian Wasser rifle. You'll probably be able to come in for quite a bit less than that. But I think for the money, this is one of the best AK-47s you can buy. It's worth dropping a couple extra rubles to get a really good rifle that you're going to have with you the rest of your life. My other conclusion is this would not be my end-of-the-world shit-hit-the-fan rifle. I think because of its weight, its bulkiness, and then of course my unfamiliarity with it, that I'm going to stick with an AR-15 as my primary rifle, my truck rifle, home rifle, and of course end-of-the-world rifle. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you already own an AK-47 style rifle? And if so, what kind? Do you like it better than your AR-15? I'm actually kind of curious about this, and I look forward to seeing your comments below. Thank you guys for stopping by on a snowy afternoon and checking out this rifle with me. Please leave a thumbs up down below. If you're not already a subscriber to the channel, I would appreciate you giving me a subscribe down below and then tapping that little bell so that you'll know when I upload more crap to YouTube. You guys stay safe out there. Stay armed whenever and wherever you possibly can. These are crazy times. Until next video, OG out.